Hey, boss, you got a minute?
Always for you. Yeah, I was just looking at the YTB and I'm looking at this picture of you. You look like a really serious CSN there.
Sir, I don't know about that. So, hey, sir, I'm going to take my mask off if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. We're far enough apart.
Thanks for the hand sanitizer, too. Hey, boss, you know it's suicide awareness prevention. So what do you think we need to do to get after it?
I'll tell you, that's something that's been weighing very heavily on me, especially in the COVID environment, because it seems like everything is more exacerbated. Because the more connected we are, sometimes the less connected we are, because we don't really have that personal touch. And for me, the relationship is all about seeing you eyeball to eyeball. And yeah, maybe on Teams and Facebook and FaceTime and all these other tools that we have, that's all we've got. And so we need to increase it. We need to increase that level of connectivity. But we need to try to make it more genuine. We need to really be there for each other. I mean, you're my battle buddy. I could call you at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know you're going to answer.
Well, sir, it depends on how heavy I'm sleeping, but I will answer.
But no, you'll pick up. You'll pick up. I know you do. And I think that's just really important. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there because we go through the ethos, and we're afraid to show our vulnerability sometimes. And so I think that also becomes more aggravated. The more difficult your situation becomes, the less you really want to discuss it with anyone, because then you might feel more uncomfortable about what vulnerabilities those difficulties demonstrate, even if it's your battle buddy at times. So I think even more so, I have to be able to pick up on what's up with you, more so than waiting for you to come and talk to me. And I think that becomes really, really difficult. I just suffered through a personal tragedy related to suicide. And I can tell you that one of the things that I was doing is I hadn't thought about this person in a while, and all of a sudden he came into my mind. And first thing I do, before we would just pick up the phone and call somebody. But obviously we're on opposite poles of the United States, and so what I did is I went to his social media site. And so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, those things. And I saw that he hadn't posted anything in like 2 years. And that's how long it's been since I've even, tried to reach out to him. And I realized that something must have been up. And I was going to call him right then and there. And then I got a call, or I got a text, or something happened where I put that off to the side. And then the next couple of days later, I find out that unfortunately he was gone.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was really sad. And I mean, that gut instinct in me to reach out to him, I didn't follow up on.
So I think that's human, though. I think we just need to make sure we're talking to our soldiers, civilians, and family members, and letting them know that, everybody's got to reach out. It's not just a person's job, not just a leader's job, but all of us, because this is our squad, this is our team. We have to look after each other. And sometimes it's uncomfortable to reach out. But I think you're right, especially in this COVID environment, especially when we say we're socially distanced, like you always say, that's not the truth. We should be just physically distant and really reaching out to those people. So I think that's a message that we need to make sure that everybody hears and everybody understands. So
the mask that we have to wear is a physical barrier to protect each other, right? But that doesn't mean that we have to have other barriers. We definitely need to connect more. And so I hear what you're saying, and I just keep thinking. I mean, the other day I thought of my cousin that I hadn't talked to in a long time, so I called him, and out of the blue, and we hadn't talked in like 5 years, and we connected for about 20 minutes just talking, and I mean he's in a good spot or anything like that, but we just have to do that. We just have to reach out, and I know that in the old days when we didn't have social media. And, a long time ago when I was a platoon leader, we carried around our leader book. And it forced us, because we didn't have email. And we didn't have anything. The only way we contacted each other was through a phone call. And it forced me to talk to my 3 squad leaders and my platoon sergeant on an ongoing basis. And at times I would reach out and talk to the team leaders. the E5s. And it was harder because everything was leaving a message. And back then you didn't even have call waiting or, call forwarding or anything of that. So you didn't have voicemail. I mean, it just rang and rang until it stopped ringing. So you had to make an effort. You had to make a real effort to talk to somebody. And now it's so easy to connect. And we sometimes don't make the time to it because we're all so busy.
So I think you also mentioned the ethos. So I mean, I think about the warrior ethos, right? And that I'll never quit, I'll never leave a fallen comrade. Those two parts of the warrior ethos really stick with me. And I think it's important we realize again that I said this earlier. It's sign of strength when you're having bad times, when life hits you really hard, right in the chops, that you're able to go, I just need to talk to someone because it's hard right now. And sometimes when it's really hard, you're not thinking straight. Things seem to spiral out of control, and that's where that battle buddy can give you an azimuth check and make sure you're on the right course.
I'll tell you, when I look back on with what you're saying, I mean, you know me, I'm kind of an outgoing kind of a person, kind of, sort of, right? Just a little bit, right? But I know that when I'm going through what I would say an internal difficulty, I don't talk to anybody. I have a hard time talking to people, really. And the only times that I've opened up to somebody is when somebody has basically just pried me open, just incessantly kept after me saying, something's wrong with you, and that's when I open up. But I can't say that I've ever been on any precipice to making a drastic decision. But I know that when I've had the most difficult time, it's been somebody else that's really pried me open to talk about my difficulty rather than me seeking someone to talk to them about it. I mean, I think it's just a challenge. It's a challenge, especially when you start looking at being vulnerable and talking about something that makes you uncomfortable because you're already uncomfortable because you have the issue that you're dealing with, or the combination of issues. So I'm not a psychotherapist or psychologist or a behavioral therapist in any way, shape, or form. I just know how I tick, and that becomes really difficult for me to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there, sir, be it, Military One Source or suicide hotlines that are out there. I know there's all sorts of, 22 push-up challenges for veterans to raise awareness, or, ask a buddy or a buddy chat that's going around Facebook right now. There's a lot of people trying, but I think sometimes it's not the initial effort out. It's the waiting. Not waiting, but just the receiving of the information when it does happen, and being aware that you need to ask those questions, and you need to use, like, for example, the ACE card, right? Use ACE, ask, care, escort, and do all those things, not just be overwhelmed by it, because there's a ton of resources out there for our soldiers. And I think, that's something we need to do this month as well, is really push those.
Right. The resources are all around us. They really are. And sometimes it takes your battle buddy to identify that resource needs to be available right away for someone. And so when we go through the ACE, right, the ACT, care, and then escort, we need to make sure that we take that extra step in that escort process. It might be through a digital mean and their connection to making sure that they get the help immediately through one of those resources before you move on to the next step. But I think it's really, really important that everyone knows that everyone matters. Everyone cares about them. I know that sometimes people might not believe that, but it's true.
Yeah, sir, I think if nothing else, they've got us.
I know that's for sure, because, no matter where you are, and no matter how long it's been since you talked to somebody, you can pick up the phone and call one of your Army buddies, whether they're current or not, and that person will answer and will care. That's just the way we're born. That's the way we're developed in the Army, and I've done that a lot too. In the recent couple of weeks, since all this issue, I've talked to two folks that I hadn't talked to in a long time. One of them I don't think I had talked to in like 7 years. It was a former XO, and we chatted for about 45 minutes. And that the first half hour is cursing me out because I hadn't talked to him in a while, right? Just jibing at me. But yeah, I think the resources, we have to make sure that they're there, and we really have to really look at our buddy and make sure that our buddy's doing okay. And I know it's really difficult if you can't see him, but you've got to reach out and talk.
Cool, boss.
Got to connect to protect.
Cool.